The alarm bells rang through the monitoring station like angry metal birds. Silandra's pale blue fingers danced across the crystal control panel as her large eyes studied the readings. Something was wrong. Very wrong. For 300 years, she had worked at the Galactic Council's Deep Space Monitoring Station. She had seen signals from dying stars, from black holes eating planets, and from the birth of new solar systems. But she had never seen anything like this. The signal came from the third planet of a small yellow star, far out on the edge of the galaxy. The system was young, too young to have smart life. According to all their science, it should take at least 2 billion years for a planet to grow creatures that could think and build things. This system was barely half that old, but the signal was there, clear as starlight. Silandra's thin hands shook as she checked the numbers again. The signal was not random noise. It was not natural radio waves from space rocks or gas clouds. This was made by thinking beings. The pattern was too perfect, too planned. The signal contained prime numbers: 1, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13. Then it moved to simple math. 2 plus 2 equals 4. 3 times 3 equals 9. Then it showed the value of pi to 50 decimal places. Only smart creatures could do this. Silandra pressed the emergency button with one long finger. Red lights flashed through the station. Within minutes, other workers rushed to her station. Veltar, a tall green creature with 4 arms, bent over her shoulder to look at the screen. "What is it?" Veltar asked in the common galactic language. "First contact signal," Silandra whispered. "From Sector 774 Alpha." Veltar's 4 eyes went wide. "That is impossible. That system is too young." "I know, but look at the signal. More workers came. Soon, 12 different aliens stood around Silandra's station. They came from 6 different worlds, but they all knew what they were seeing. This was proof of new smart life in the galaxy. Zul'Khan, the station commander, pushed through the crowd. His rock-like skin was gray and hard, and his voice sounded like grinding stone. "Show me," he said. Silandra played the signal again. The math was perfect. Too perfect. Most new species sent simple signals when they first reached out to space. Basic radio waves. Simple patterns. This signal was complex. It showed understanding of advanced math and science. "How long has this been coming in?" Zul'Khan asked. 6 hours, Silandra said. "It is getting stronger." "Getting stronger?" "Yes, Commander. Like they are making their transmitter more powerful." Zul'Khan stared at the screen. In his 400 years of life, he had seen 17 first contact events. They all followed the same pattern. New species would send weak, simple signals. The Council would send back basic math and pictures. It would take years to build up to real communication. This was different. "Send word to the Council," Zul'Khan said. "Priority 1 message. Tell them we have a new species. Tell them this species is not like the others." 3 hours later, the Council chamber on Central Station was full. Representatives from 47 different worlds sat in their special seats. The air was thick with different breathing gases. Translation devices buzzed and clicked as they changed words from one language to another. At the center of the great round room, a large screen showed the signal from the young solar system. Council leader Mothara, a floating creature that looked like living mist, spoke with a voice like wind through trees. "We have all seen the report," Mothara said. "The signal is clear. We have new intelligent life. but the location and complexity trouble us. Grixtalk, the representative from the warrior world of Karg, slammed his heavy fist on his desk. Young worlds do not have complex math. This could be a trick, maybe an enemy trying to fool us. The signal comes from deep space, said Tomek, whose people were known for their science skills. It is too far to be a trap from known enemies, and the math is correct, very correct. More than correct, added Professor Lilwen from the crystal world of Zeph. Some of their calculations are better than ours. Their value of pi has more decimal places than our best computers can calculate. The chamber fell quiet. This was disturbing news. Perhaps, said Speaker Nawala from the water world of Aqua, we should be careful. If this species has such knowledge, they may be dangerous. Or very useful, said Grixtalk, with a smile that showed his sharp teeth. Mothara floated higher, above the center of the room. We will follow standard first contact rules. We send a probe with basic information. We see how they respond. Then we decide our next steps. And if they are hostile? Asked Nawala. Then we deal with them as we deal with all hostile species, Grixtalk said, his hand moving to his weapon. Let us hope it does not come to that, Mothara said. Prepare the first contact probe, load it with standard mathematical concepts, basic star maps, and an invitation to peaceful communication. Launch it tomorrow. As the council members left the chamber, small groups gathered to whisper among themselves. Some were excited about meeting a new species. Others worried about what kind of creatures could learn such advanced math so quickly. Back at the monitoring station, Silandra kept watching the signal. It had been going for 12 hours now, and it was still getting stronger. But there was something else. The signal was changing. At first it had been just math. Now it included other things, star positions, chemical formulas, even what looked like music, patterns of sound that had rhythm and feeling. She called Veltar over to her. Station. Look at this, she said, pointing to the newest part of the signal. Veltar studied the patterns. His 4 eyes moved up and down as he tried to understand what he was seeing. These are star maps, he said slowly. But not just any star maps. These show star positions from their planet's point of view. And look here, they have marked which stars have planets around them. Silandra felt cold. They know about other solar systems? More than that. Look at this section. Veltar pointed to another part of the signal. This shows the chemical makeup of different stars. They know what stars are made of, from their planet. This was impossible. Most species did not learn about other stars until they could travel in space. These creatures were sending signals that showed they understood their whole region of the galaxy. And they had never left their world. Commander Zul'Khan walked over to them. What have you found? Commander, Silandra said, I think we need to send another message to the Council. This species knows more than we thought. Zul'Khan looked at the screen. The signal patterns were beautiful and complex. Too complex. What kind of creatures are these? He asked quietly. None of them had an answer. But deep in their hearts, they were starting to realize that everything they knew about how smart life developed in the galaxy might be wrong. The signal kept coming, growing stronger and more complex every hour. And somewhere in that young solar system, on the third planet, from a small yellow star, the creatures that would soon call themselves humans continued their first attempt to talk to the stars. The Council's first contact probe flew through space at half the speed of light. It was their best technology, designed to carry peaceful messages to new species across the galaxy. The probe had worked perfectly 43 times before. Inside its metal shell, the probe carried what the Council thought were universal truths, mathematical concepts that any smart species would understand, pictures showing the basic elements that made up all matter, simple drawings of atoms and molecules, star maps showing where the Council's worlds were located. The probe also carried gifts, basic tools made from common metals, simple computers that could do easy math, and most importantly, it carried an invitation, a message that said, in basic, mathematical language, we want to be friends. Join us among the stars. It took the probe 6 months to reach the edge of the young solar system. As it flew past the outer planets, it began to slow down. Its mission was to find the third planet and drop into orbit around it. Then it would wait for the planet's inhabitants to notice it and respond. But something strange happened. The probe was still 3 days away from the third planet when it received a signal, a tight beam of energy that carried a complex message. The probe's computers worked hard to translate the signal into something the Council could understand. The message was in the same mathematical language the Council had used in their original invitation, but it was much more advanced than anything the Council had sent. The planet's inhabitants had not only received the Council's first contact probe details, somehow they already knew it was coming. Their message included precise calculations of the probe's speed, direction, and arrival time. They knew exactly where it was and when it would reach their world. But that was not the strangest part. The message also included improvements to the probe's design. The planet's creatures had looked at the Council's technology and found ways to make it better. They suggested new materials that would make the probe's hull stronger. They showed better ways to build the probe's computer systems. They even improved the mathematical concepts the Council thought were perfect. The probe's automatic systems sent an emergency message back to the Council. This was not normal first contact behavior. On Central Station, the Council gathered again, in emergency session. The great chamber buzzed with worried voices in dozens of languages. "They knew our probe was coming," said Tomek, staring at the report in his hands. 3 days before it arrived in their system, they knew. "How is this possible?" asked Speaker Newala. "Our probes are invisible to most species. We use the best stealth technology in the galaxy." Professor Lilwen's crystal body flashed with nervous light. "Perhaps they have very good sensors, better than we expected. Look at their suggested improvements," Grixtok said, holding up another part of the report. "They want us to change the probe's power source. They say fusion is inefficient. They suggest something called zero-point energy extraction." "What is zero-point energy extraction?" asked Mothara. "I do not know," admitted Tomek, who was supposed to be the Council's best scientist. "Our computers cannot figure out what they mean. And here," continued Grixtok, "they have corrected our star maps. They say 3 of our star positions are wrong. They give us better coordinates." The chamber fell silent. The Council's star maps were made by their best astronomers using their most advanced telescopes. They had been checked and double-checked for accuracy. How could a species that had never left their planet know better star positions? "Perhaps," said Newala slowly, "we should be more careful with this species." "Or perhaps," said a new voice, from the back of the chamber, "we should be more respectful." Everyone turned to look. In the visitors section sat Ambassador Kulvar from the ancient world of Eternal. His people were the oldest known species in the galaxy. They had been traveling in space when most other worlds were still covered in simple plants. "You speak as if you know something we do not," said Mothara. Kulvar stood up slowly. His ancient body moved like a tree in a gentle wind. In my long life, I have seen many young species take their first steps into space. They all follow the same pattern. First, they learn to make fire, then tools, then simple machines, then radio, then space travel. It takes millions of years. Yes, said Tomek. This is the natural order. But sometimes, Kulvar continued, very rarely a species develops differently. Instead of growing slowly over millions of years, they learn very fast. In just thousands of years, they advance from simple tools to advanced science. That is impossible, said Professor Lilwen. I have seen it once before, Kulvar said quietly. Long ago, when I was young, a species that learned faster than anyone thought possible. They became our teachers instead of our students. What happened to them? Asked Mothara. Kulvar's old eyes looked sad. They moved beyond our understanding. They left for other galaxies, searching for greater challenges. We never saw them again. The council members looked at each other with worried expressions. Are you saying this new species might be like that? Asked Newala. I am saying we should not assume they are primitive, Kulvar replied. Their response to our probe suggests they understand our technology better than we do. Back in the young solar system, the probe had finally reached the third planet. It dropped into orbit and began its standard scanning procedures. But before it could finish its first scan, it received another message from the planet below. This message was different. Instead of mathematical symbols, it carried sounds, music. The probe's computers had trouble understanding it at first. Then they realized the music was also a complex mathematical equation. The planet's inhabitants had found a way to put advanced science into beautiful sounds. The music told a story. It showed the history of the planet below. It described creatures that had learned to think and build and dream. It talked about their struggles to understand the universe around them. And it asked questions. Deep questions about the nature of life and intelligence and the purpose of existence. The probe's simple computers could not answer such questions, but the message was not finished. After the music came pictures, not simple drawings like the Council had sent, but complex images that showed the planet's surface in perfect detail. Cities that stretched for hundreds of miles, machines that could move mountains, ships that could dive to the bottom of the deepest oceans, and then came the most surprising part of all. The planet's inhabitants included detailed information about the probe itself. They showed its exact construction. They listed every component and every system. They knew more about the Council's probe than some of the Council members who had built it. How do they know all this? The probe's computers asked in their automatic report to the Council. But the answer came with the next part of the message. The planet's creatures had built machines that could see inside the probe without touching it. They could look through metal and crystal as easily as looking through clear water. Their sensors were so advanced that they knew every circuit and every wire in the probe's construction. The probe tried to hide using its stealth systems, but the planet's sensors found it anyway. No matter what the probe did, the creatures below could see it perfectly. Then came a message that made the probe's computers pause in confusion. The planet's inhabitants thanked the Council for sending the probe. They said they were happy to meet other intelligent life, but they also sent their own invitation. Come visit us, the message said. We have much to share. We have solved problems you still struggle with. We have found answers to questions you have not yet learned to ask. Come as friends, and we will teach you wonders. The probe dutifully recorded everything and sent it all back to the Council. But as it waited in orbit around the strange planet, its simple computers began to realize something that would soon shock the entire galaxy. The creatures on this young world were not the students the Council expected to find. They were the teachers the galaxy had been waiting for. 6 months after the probe's first report, space around Central Station filled with warning alarms. Something was approaching fast, very fast. Traffic Control Officer Zixina stared at her displays in disbelief. The object was moving faster than anything she had ever tracked. It was going so fast that her computers could barely keep up with its position. "Unknown vessel," she said into her communicator. "You are approaching Council space at dangerous speed. Please slow down and identify yourself." The response came immediately in perfect galactic standard language. "This is the Earth vessel Harmony, requesting permission to dock at Central Station. We are the diplomatic mission from the third planet of System 774 Alpha. We apologize if our speed caused concern. We will reduce velocity now." Zixina watched in amazement as the unknown ship slowed down smoothly and quickly. Most ships took hours to slow down from high speed without crushing their crews. This ship did it in minutes. "Earth vessel Harmony," she said, trying to keep her voice steady. "Please transmit your ship specifications for docking assignment." "Transmitting now," came the reply. Zixina's computer screen filled with information that made no sense. According to the data, the ship was 300 meters long and had a crew of 12. But the power readings were impossible. The ship's energy output was higher than some space stations, and the propulsion system was completely unknown. "Harmony," she said, "our computers cannot identify your drive system. What type of engines are you using?" "We are using a basic gravitic manipulation drive with quantum tunnel assistance," the voice replied calmly. "We can provide technical specifications if needed." Zixina had never heard of gravitic manipulation or quantum tunnels. She quickly called her supervisor. Within an hour, every important person on Central Station was watching the Earth ship approach. The vessel was beautiful in a strange way. It was smooth and curved, like a piece of art made from white metal. It had no visible engines or weapons, but it moved through space like it was swimming through water. Ambassador He-Jin stood on the bridge of the Harmony, looking through the large window at Central Station. She was tall for a human, with long black hair and calm dark eyes. She wore a simple blue uniform that somehow looked more impressive than the fancy clothes most diplomats wore. "Captain Min-ho," she said to the man beside her, "are you ready for docking?" Captain Min-ho nodded. He was shorter than the ambassador, with steady hands and a quiet voice. "All systems ready, Ambassador. The crew is prepared for departure." Behind them, the rest of the diplomatic team made final preparations. Ye-Jin, their technology advisor, checked her equipment one more time. Security Chief Sung-jun tested his protective devices. The 12 humans on the ship all seemed calm and confident. They had good reason to be confident. Earth's first starship was more advanced than anything in Council space. The docking procedure took longer than expected. Not because the Harmony had problems, but because Central Station's docking systems were too simple for the Earth ship. Finally, Captain Min-ho simply attached his ship to the station using the Harmony's own docking system. "Interesting," said technology advisor Ye-Jin, studying her readings. "Their station uses basic metal construction with simple gravity generators, very primitive but functional. Remember," Ambassador Ye-Jin said to her team, "we are here to make friends, not to judge. Every species develops differently. Course, Ambassador," said Ye-Jin, "but their technology is thousands of years behind ours." When the airlock opened, Ambassador Hyejin stepped onto Central Station wearing a simple environmental suit. The suit was clear like glass, and it seemed to change its properties as she walked through different areas of the station. In the high-pressure zones, it became stronger. In the low-pressure zones, it became lighter. In areas with poisonous gases, it filtered the air perfectly. The welcoming committee from the council stared at her in surprise. Most environmental suits were bulky and awkward. Hyejin's suit was so thin and clear that she looked like she was wearing ordinary clothes. "Welcome to Central Station," said Protocol Officer Veltar, speaking through a translation device. "I am Veltar of the Coordinating Council. We are honored by your visit." "Thank you," Hyejin replied in perfect galactic standard. "I am Ambassador Hyejin of Earth. We are pleased to meet you and grateful for your invitation to join the galactic community." Veltar blinked his 4 eyes in surprise. "You speak our language very well. We studied the language patterns from your probe's transmissions," Hyejin explained. "Our computers analyze the structure and grammar. It is a very logical language, easy to learn." "Easy to learn?" Veltar repeated. "Our language took our best linguists 50 years to develop. Most species need decades to become fluent. Perhaps we have good language teachers," Hyejin said with a small smile. As they walked through the station, more council members joined the group. Soon, Ambassador Hyejin was surrounded by representatives from a dozen different worlds. They all stared at her simple environmental suit and wondered how it worked so perfectly. "Ambassador," said Science Advisor Tomek, "may I ask about your ship's propulsion system? Our sensors could not identify the technology." "Of course," Hyejin replied. "We use controlled gravity fields to move through space. The quantum tunneling effect allows us to travel faster than normal space-time permits." Tomek's expression grew confused. "Controlled gravity? How do you control gravity?" "By understanding the relationship between matter, energy, and space-time," Hyejin explained. "Gravity is not a force. It is a curvature in space. If you can control the curvature, you can control gravity." "But that is impossible," Tomek said. "Gravity cannot be controlled. It is a fundamental force of nature." Hyejin looked puzzled. "I am sorry, but I do not understand. Gravity control is basic physics. How do your ships move through space?" "Use fusion rockets," Tomek admitted. "They burn fuel to create thrust." "Fusion rockets?" Hyejin tried to hide her surprise. "How do you carry enough fuel for long journeys?" "Very large fuel tanks," Tomek said proudly. "Our best ships can travel for 6 months before refueling." Hyejin nodded politely, but her team exchanged glances. The Harmony could travel for 6,000 years without refueling. When they reached the diplomatic quarters, Protocol Officer Veltar began to explain the accommodations. "We have prepared special rooms for primitive species," he said kindly. "The air is simple oxygen and nitrogen. The gravity is light. The furniture is basic, but functional." "That is very thoughtful," Hyejin said. "But we would prefer standard diplomatic quarters if possible. We can adapt to any atmospheric conditions you use." "Standard quarters?" Veltar looked worried. "But the atmospheric mix includes gases that are poisonous to most carbon-based life forms." "That should not be a problem," Hyejin assured him. Veltar led them to a standard diplomatic suite. The room was filled with a greenish gas that would kill most species in minutes. The gravity was 3 times Earth normal. The temperature was hot enough to melt some metals. Hyejin walked into the room without hesitation. Her environmental suit adjusted automatically. She breathed normally, moved easily and seemed completely comfortable. "How is this possible?" Veltar whispered to Tomek. "I do not know," Tomek replied, staring at the human ambassador. "Their technology is beyond our understanding." Ambassador Hyejin turned to face the group of alien diplomats. "Would you like to see our ship?" she asked. "Captain Minho would be happy to give you a tour." The council representatives looked at each other nervously. They were beginning to realize that first contact with Earth was not going as expected. These humans were supposed to be primitive. They were supposed to need help and guidance. They were supposed to be grateful students learning from wise alien teachers. Instead, the humans seemed to understand technology that the council had never imagined. They spoke the council's language perfectly after hearing it only once. They moved through space faster than anyone thought possible. "Perhaps," said Tomek carefully, "we should inform the full council of your arrival." "Of course," Hyejin agreed. "We are looking forward to meeting with the council leaders." As the alien diplomats hurried away to send emergency messages, Ambassador Hyejin looked out the window at the stars beyond Central Station. "How long do you think it will take them to realize the truth?" Security Chief Sung Jun asked quietly. "What? Truth?" Hyejin replied. "That we are not here to learn from them," Sung Jun said. "We are here to teach them." Hyejin smiled. "I think they are beginning to figure that out already." The council's emergency session was the largest gathering in 50 years. Representatives from every member world crowded into the great chamber. Some came in person, others appeared as holograms, and a few connected their minds directly through quantum communication. At the center of the chamber, Ambassador Hyejin stood calmly beside a small table. On the table were several objects that looked like simple metal boxes and glass spheres. To the council members, they looked like toys. They had no idea they were looking at technology that would change the galaxy forever. "Honored council members," Hyejin began, "Earth is grateful for your invitation to join the galactic community. We hope to build lasting friendships with all your worlds." Council leader Mothara floated above the center of the room. "We welcome Earth to our community. Ambassador, we hope you will benefit from our long experience in space." "Thank you," Hyejin replied. "We also hope to contribute what we can to the galaxy's knowledge." Science advisor Tomek leaned forward in his seat. "Perhaps you could tell us more about your technology. We are very curious about your propulsion systems." "Of course," Hyejin said. She picked up one of the metal boxes from her table. "This is a basic gravity manipulator. Would you like to see how it works?" She pressed a button on the side of the box. Immediately, every loose object in the chamber began to float. Papers, drinking cups, and small tools drifted gently toward the ceiling. The council members themselves felt their weight disappear. "Fascinating," Tomek said, floating in his chair. "You have created a gravity field." "Actually, we have removed the gravity field," Hyejin corrected. "The device creates a small area where gravity does not exist." Professor Lilwen's crystal body flashed with excitement. "But gravity cannot be turned off. It is a fundamental force of the universe." "Not turned off," Hyejin explained patiently. "Redirected. Gravity is just curved space-time. If you understand the mathematics, you can change the curvature." She pressed the button again. Gravity returned to normal and everything gently settled back into place. "The mathematics?" Tomek asked. "Could you show us the equations?" "Certainly." Hyejin touched another device on her table. A holographic display appeared in the air. showing complex mathematical formulas that filled the space above the council chamber. The council's best scientists stared at the equations in amazement. The mathematics was unlike anything they had ever seen. It was elegant and beautiful, but also completely beyond their understanding. These equations, Professor Lil Wen said slowly, they describe the structure of space-time itself. Yes, Hyejin agreed. Once you understand how space and time are connected, controlling gravity becomes quite simple. Simple? Tomek's voice cracked. These equations would take our best computers years to solve. Really? Hyejin looked surprised. Our children learn these equations in school. They are considered basic physics. The chamber fell silent. The idea that human children could understand mathematics that their greatest scientists could not even read was deeply disturbing to the council members. Warrior Representative Grixtalk stood up at his seat. Ambassador, what other technologies does Earth possess? Many things, Hyejin replied. Would you like to see our matter synthesizer? Before anyone could answer, she picked up a glass sphere from her table. Inside the sphere, colorful lights swirled like tiny stars. This device can create any element from the periodic table, she explained. It rearranges atomic particles to build whatever material you need. She spoke a command to the device. Create 1 kilogram of pure gold. The lights inside the sphere spun faster. Within seconds, a brick of gleaming gold appeared on the table next to the device. The council members stared at the gold brick in shock. The creation of matter from energy was theoretical science to them. They knew it was possible, but no one had ever built a machine that could do it. How does it work? Professor Lil Wen asked in a whisper. Quantum field manipulation, Hyejin explained. At the smallest level, all matter is just energy patterns. If you can control the patterns, you can create any type of matter. She spoke another command. The gold brick disappeared and was replaced by a perfect diamond the size of an egg. The energy comes from quantum vacuum fluctuations, she continued. There is unlimited energy available in empty space if you know how to access it. Grixtalk's warrior instincts made him ask the question that all the military representatives were thinking. Can this technology be used to create weapons? Hyejin considered the question carefully. This device could create materials used in weapons, yes, but Earth prefers to use it for more peaceful purposes. She demonstrated by creating a small tree. The tree appeared complete with leaves, branches, and roots. It was alive and healthy, as if it had been growing for years. We use matter synthesizers to create food for hungry people, she explained. We can make fresh water in desert areas. We can build homes for families who need shelter. The tree continued to grow as they watched, its roots spreading across the table and its branches reaching toward the chamber's lights. You created life, breathed Newala from her water tank. You made a living tree from nothing. Not from nothing, Hyejin corrected. From quantum energy. Life is just a very complex pattern of matter and energy. If you understand the pattern, you can create it. Technology. Advisor Hyejin, who had been standing quietly beside the ambassador, stepped forward. Perhaps the council would like to see our universal translator. She held up a small device that looked like a piece of clear crystal. This translator does not just convert words from one language to another. It also translates cultural concepts, emotional meanings, and social context. How is that possible? Asked translator specialist Kipnon, whose entire job was translating between different species. Every language carries the history and culture of its speakers, Yejin explained. Our translator analyzes not just the words, but the thoughts and feelings behind the words. It understands why something is said, not just what is said. She activated the device and spoke a single word in human language. The translator projected the meaning into the minds of everyone in the chamber. But it was not just the word they understood. They felt the entire emotional and cultural weight of the word. They understood its history, its poetry, its music. For a moment, every being in the chamber experienced what it felt like to be human. "Remarkable," whispered Mothara. "We have felt your thoughts." "Only the surface thoughts," Yejin said modestly. "A full mental connection would require more advanced equipment." "More advanced?" Kipnon asked faintly. "Oh, yes," Yejin replied. "This is just a basic translation device. Our advanced communicators can share complex ideas, memories, and even dreams between different species." The council members looked at each other with growing amazement and concern. Each new piece of human technology was more incredible than the last. These creatures from a young world possessed science that was centuries ahead of anything in the galaxy. "Ambassador," Council Leader Mothara said carefully, "Earth appears to have developed very quickly. Most species take millions of years to achieve such technological advancement." "We have been fortunate," Hyejin replied. "Our people have always been curious about the universe. We ask many questions and work together to find answers." "But how long has Earth had space travel?" Tomek asked. "This is our first journey to another star," Hyejin admitted. "We only developed interstellar travel a few months ago." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. The humans had created their first starship just months ago. Yet it was more advanced than anything the Council had built in thousands of years. "How is this possible?" demanded Grixtalk. "We learn quickly," Hyejin said with a modest smile. "When we decided to build a starship, our best scientists worked together to solve the problems. It took them 3 months to develop the technology." 3 months? Professor Lilwen's crystal body flashed so brightly that several council members had to shield their eyes. "Yes," Hyejin confirmed, "though most of that time was spent making sure the ship was safe and comfortable for the crew." As the implications of this revelation sank in, the council members began to realize that everything they thought they knew about technological development was wrong. These humans had advanced from primitive radio signals to faster than light, travel in less than a year. They had developed technologies that the Council's greatest scientists thought were impossible, and they were just getting started. The mood in the Council chamber had shifted. What began as a friendly welcome ceremony now felt more like an interrogation. Military representatives from several warrior species sat forward in their seats, studying the humans with suspicious eyes. General Kraktesh of the Hegemony Defense Force stood up slowly. He was massive even for his species, with armor-plated skin and weapons built into his arms. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. "Ambassador," he said, "the Hegemony has concerns about Earth's rapid technological development. In our experience, species that advance so quickly often become aggressive. What weapons does Earth possess?" Ambassador Hyejin exchanged a quick glance with Security Chief Sung Jun. They had expected this question. "Earth has defensive capabilities," Hyejin replied carefully. "We prefer to focus on peaceful technologies, but we understand the need for protection." "Defensive capabilities?" General Kraktesh's small eyes glinted. Please be more specific. Sung Jun stepped forward. He was smaller than the alien general, but he moved with the confidence of someone who had never lost a fight. If the Council wishes, I can demonstrate some of our basic defensive systems. Yes, said Grixtalk eagerly. Show us what Earth considers defensive. Sung Jun activated a small device attached to his uniform. Immediately, a shimmering field of light surrounded him. The field was barely visible, like heat waves rising from warm ground. This is a personal protection field, he explained. It protects against energy weapons, projectile weapons, and environmental hazards. Interesting, General Kraktesh said. How much protection does it provide? It can deflect most known weapons, Sung Jun replied. Would you like to test it? Kraktesh's eyes widened. No one had ever offered to let him test their defenses before. You would allow me to attack you? With your standard weapons, yes, Sung Jun said calmly. Kraktesh drew his plasma rifle, a weapon that could burn through solid steel. He aimed it at Sung Jun and fired. The plasma bolt struck the human's protective field and simply disappeared. There was no explosion, no heat, no light. The deadly energy just vanished as if it had never existed. Impossible, Kraktesh breathed. That weapon can destroy a battle tank. Your plasma weapon uses directed energy, Sung Jun explained. Our shield converts the energy into harmless photons and disperses them into space. Try again, urged Grixtalk. Use your strongest weapon. Kraktesh activated his arm cannon, a weapon designed to destroy small spacecraft. He fired directly at Sung Jun's chest. Again, the energy simply vanished. Sung Jun stood unharmed, not even moved by the impact. How much energy can your shield absorb? Asked military specialist Zorgap. The theoretical limit is quite high, Sung Jun replied. Our tests show it can absorb the energy output of a small star for several minutes. The silence that followed was deafening. A weapon that could absorb the power of a star was beyond anything the Council had imagined. What about kinetic weapons? Asked Colonel Vexida. Physical projectiles? Sung Jun nodded to weapons engineer Chan Wu, who had been waiting quietly. With the rest of the human delegation, Chan Wu stepped forward, carrying what looked like a simple metal rod. This is a basic kinetic barrier, Chan Wu explained. It stops physical objects from reaching the protected area. He tossed the metal rod into the air above Sung Jun. As it fell toward the security chief, it suddenly stopped in mid-air, floating motionless above his head. The barrier creates a field that neutralizes kinetic energy, Chan Wu continued. Anything moving toward the protected person simply stops. Even very fast projectiles? Colonel Vexida asked. Our tests included projectiles moving at 90% of light speed, Chan Wu replied. The barrier stopped them all. The military. Representatives looked at each other with growing alarm. These humans possessed defensive technology that could stop any weapon in the Council's arsenal. What about your offensive capabilities? General Kraktesh demanded. Tactical analyst Yunji stepped forward. She was young even by human standards, but her eyes held the wisdom of someone who understood the true cost of war. Earth prefers not to demonstrate offensive weapons, she said diplomatically. But I can show you our tactical analysis systems. She activated a holographic display that filled the space above the council chamber. The display showed a detailed map of the space around Central Station. Our sensors have mapped every vessel within 50 light-years of this station, Yunji explained. We can see ships that are using stealth technology, cloaking devices, or hiding behind planets. The map showed hundreds of ships. Most were known vessels, council patrol ships, merchant vessels, and diplomatic craft. but the map also showed ships that were supposed to be invisible. These vessels, Yunji pointed to a cluster of red dots, appear to be hegemony military ships using advanced cloaking technology. General Kraktesh's face paled. Those ships were part of a secret fleet that no one was supposed to know about. And these vessels, she pointed to another group, seemed to be Council intelligence ships conducting surveillance operations. Several Council members shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Those ships were part of classified operations. This group, here, Yunji continued, pointing to ships near the edge of the display, appears to be a pirate fleet planning to attack a merchant convoy next week. Fleet Commander Hyun-woo spoke up from his position with the human delegation. We took the liberty of warning the convoy about the planned attack. They should be able to avoid the pirates now. How did you see our cloaked ships? Demanded General Kraktesh. Your cloaking technology bends light around your vessels, Commander Hyun-woo explained. But it does not hide gravitational fields, quantum signatures, or dimensional wake patterns. Our sensors detect these other traces. Dimensional wake patterns? Asked Tomek weakly. When ships move through space, they leave traces in multiple dimensions, the commander explained. These traces are invisible to most sensors, but they can be detected if you know what to look for. The implications were staggering. The humans could see every ship in Council space, no matter how advanced their hiding technology. There were no secrets from Earth's sensors. How many ships does Earth have? Asked Colonel Vexida. Currently, we have 12 vessels capable of interstellar travel, Ambassador Hyojin replied. 12 ships? General Kraktesh almost smiled. The hegemony has over 10,000 warships. Yes, Hyojin said politely. We noticed your fleet when we arrived. Very impressive, although we were curious about your propulsion systems. What about our propulsion systems? Kraktesh asked suspiciously. Commander Hyun-woo answered. Your ships use controlled fusion engines with ion drive assistance. The design is functional but quite limited. Your fastest ships can barely reach 1/10 of light speed. 1/10 of light speed is very fast, protested Kraktesh. For local travel, yes, the commander agreed. But for interstellar distances, it would take your ships decades to travel between nearby star systems. How fast are your ships? Asked Colonel Vexida. The Harmony made the journey from Earth to Central Station in 6 months, Commander Hyun-woo replied. The distance is approximately 4,000 light-years. The council members quickly did the mathematics in their heads. The human ship had traveled more than 6,000 times faster than light. That is impossible, declared Tomek. Nothing can travel faster than light. Nothing can travel faster than light through normal space, Commander Hyun-woo corrected. But if you fold space-time, you can step from one location to another without actually traveling through the space between them. Space folding? Tomek's voice was barely a whisper. A basic application of dimensional engineering, the commander explained. We use controlled gravitational fields to create temporary bridges between distant points in space. General Kraktesh sat down heavily in his chair. His massive fleet of 10,000 ships suddenly seemed very small and very slow compared to 12 human vessels that could appear anywhere in the galaxy within days. Ambassador, he said carefully, what does Earth want from the galactic community? Hyojin smiled warmly. The same thing any new species wants. Friendship, trade, cultural exchange. We hope to learn about your histories, your art, your music, and we hope to share our own culture with you. And if some species do not want friendship? Asked Grixtalk. Then we will respect their choice, Hyojin replied. Earth has no desire to force friendship on anyone. But what if they attack you? Pressed General Kraktesh. Ambassador Hyajin's expression grew serious. Earth will defend itself if necessary, but we hope that will never be required. The simple way she said it sent chills through every military representative in the chamber. They were beginning to understand that humanity's definition of defense might be very different from their own. The council had called for a break in the session. In small groups throughout Central Station, alien representatives whispered urgently among themselves. They were trying to understand how humans could be so advanced in technology while being so new to space travel. Cultural Ambassador Neltara from the artistic world of Melodia approached the human delegation with careful steps. Her people were known throughout the galaxy for creating beautiful music, paintings, and poetry that could move even the coldest hearts. Ambassador Hyajin, Neltara said in her musical voice, "My people are curious about Earth's cultural achievements. We have found that a species' art often reveals their true nature. We would be happy to share our culture with you," Hyajin replied warmly. Cultural Attaché. Su Jin stepped forward from the human delegation. She was an artist herself, with paint-stained fingers and eyes that seemed to see beauty in everything around her. "What kind of art would you like to see?" Su Jin asked. "Perhaps music?" Neltara suggested. "Music is the universal language of emotion." Su Jin smiled and pulled out what looked like a simple glass tablet. "This contains some examples of human music. But our music might be different from what you expect." She touched the tablet's surface. Immediately, the air around them filled with sound. But it was not just sound that reached their ears. The music seemed to create colors in the air, patterns of light that danced and swirled in perfect harmony with the melody. The alien representatives stared in amazement. They could see the music as well as hear it. "How is this possible?" Neltara whispered. "Human music incorporates mathematical relationships that create beauty across multiple sensory spectrums," Su Jin explained. "We compose melodies that produce visual harmonics in addition to auditory ones." "Visual harmonics?" repeated composer. "Zilmoth from the crystalline world of resonance. Light and sound are both wave phenomena," Su Jin continued. "By understanding the mathematical relationships between different wave frequencies, we can create music that appeals to both the eyes and the ears." The music continued to play, and the light patterns became more complex. Shapes formed in the Yasiide air, geometric patterns that somehow conveyed deep emotions. The alien listeners felt joy, sadness, hope, and wonder flowing through their minds in perfect synchronization with the visual display. "This is impossible," Zilmoth said, tears forming in his crystal eyes. "Music cannot create such beauty for so many different species at once." "Why not?" asked Su Jin, genuinely curious. "Beauty is based on mathematical principles. The same mathematical relationships that create harmony in sound also create harmony in light, color, and form. But different species perceive beauty differently." Neltara protested. "What is beautiful to my people might be ugly to another species." "That is true for cultural beauty," Su Jin agreed, "but mathematical beauty is universal. The golden ratio, the Fibonacci sequence, harmonic progressions. These create beauty that appeals to any intelligence capable of understanding mathematics." She changed the music to a different piece. This time, the light patterns formed shapes that looked almost alive. Creatures made of pure light danced through the air, telling a story without words. "The music tells of humanity's first steps into space," Su Jin explained. "It shows our wonder at discovering we are not alone in the universe and our hope for friendship with other species." The light creatures in the air reached out to touch representations of alien beings. The emotion conveyed was so pure and powerful that several of the watching aliens began to weep. Philosopher Dong-hyun stepped forward to join the cultural demonstration. He was older than most of the human delegation, with gray hair and kind eyes that had seen both the best and worst of human nature. "Our art often explores philosophical questions," he said. "We believe that beauty and truth are connected." "How so?" asked philosophical counselor Wisdom from the ancient world of contemplation. "Beautiful mathematics often reveals true relationships in the universe," Dong-hyun explained. "Beautiful art often reveals true emotions in the heart. Beautiful philosophy often reveals true principles for living." He activated another device that projected three-dimensional images into the air above them. The images showed scenes from human history, moments of great struggle and great triumph. This piece explores the question of individual freedom versus collective responsibility, Dong-hyun continued. "How does a society balance the needs of the individual with the needs of the group?" The images showed humans working together to solve great problems while still maintaining their individual identities and freedoms. "Our answer," Dong-hyun said, "is that individual freedom and collective responsibility are not opposites. They support each other. Free individuals choose to work together because they understand that helping others helps themselves." "But that is impossible," protested social theorist Kin Group from the hive mind world of unity. "Individual freedom always leads to conflict and chaos." "Not if individuals are wise enough to choose cooperation," Dong-hyun replied. "Freedom without wisdom leads to chaos, but freedom with wisdom leads to harmony." Social scientist Mi Kyung joined the discussion. She was young but had studied the social structures of dozens of human societies. "Earth has achieved something unique," she said. "We have a single world government that maintains peace and prosperity, while still allowing thousands of different cultures to flourish." "How is this possible?" asked Kin Group. "Different cultures always fight each other for resources and territory." "Not if there are enough resources for everyone," Mi Kyung explained, "and not if different cultures learn to appreciate each other's contributions." "But resources are always limited," protested economic specialist Scar City from the trade world of commerce. "Only if you think in terms of physical resources," Mi Kyung replied. "But knowledge, art, music, friendship, love, these resources become greater when they are shared, not smaller." She activated a holographic display that showed Earth's social structure. "Every human culture contributes something unique to our global civilization. Scientists from one culture make discoveries that benefit everyone. Artists from another culture create beauty that everyone can enjoy. Philosophers from a third culture ask questions that help everyone understand themselves better." "And this creates harmony?" asked Kin Group skeptically. "This creates celebration," Mi Kyung corrected. "Humans celebrate our differences because we know that diversity makes us stronger." The holographic display showed festivals and celebrations from around Earth. Humans from hundreds of different cultures dancing together, eating each other's food, learning each other's languages, and sharing each other's stories. "Your people seem very happy," observed Nel Tara. "We have much to be happy about," Mi Kyung replied. "We live on a beautiful world. We have solved most of our basic survival problems, and we are constantly learning new things about the universe." "You have solved survival problems?" Scar City leaned forward with interest. "How?" "Our matter synthesizers can create any material we need," Mi Kyung explained. "Our energy collectors can power our civilization indefinitely. Our medical technology has eliminated most diseases and extended human lifespans significantly. How long do humans live? Asked medical specialist Healwell. Currently about 300 years on average, Mi-kyung replied, though some humans choose to live longer if they wish. Choose to live longer? Healwell's expression grew confused. Do you control death as well as matter and energy? To some extent, Mi-kyung admitted. Aging is just a biological process. Once you understand the process, you can slow it down or stop it entirely. But death gives life meaning, protested philosopher Mortality from the spiritual world of transcendence. Without death, existence becomes meaningless. We prefer to let each individual decide that question for themselves, Dong-hyun replied gently. Some humans choose to live for centuries, constantly learning and growing. Others choose to live for the normal span and then rest. Both choices are respected. And this does not create social problems? Asked Mortality. Conflict between the long-lived and the short-lived? Why would it? Mi-kyung asked. Everyone makes the choice that feels right for them. There is no competition for resources, so there is no conflict. The alien representatives looked at each other with expressions of amazement and envy. These humans had not only mastered advanced technology, they had also solved the social and philosophical problems that plagued most civilizations. How long did it take your species to achieve this harmony? Asked Neltara. We are still working on it, Dong-hyun replied with a humble smile. But we made significant progress in the last 2 centuries. 2 centuries? Kin Group's voice cracked. Your entire social evolution took only 2 centuries? Major social changes can happen quickly when people work together toward common goals, Mi-kyung explained. Once humans understood that cooperation was more effective than competition, we were able to solve problems very rapidly. As the cultural demonstration continued, the alien representatives began to realize that humanity's advances were not limited to technology. These creatures had also achieved levels of social, philosophical, and artistic development that most species took thousands of years to reach, and they had done it all in less time than some alien individuals had been alive. The formal council session had resumed, but the atmosphere had changed completely. The alien representatives no longer looked at the humans as primitive newcomers seeking guidance. Instead, they watched with the careful attention of students, hoping to learn from master teachers. Economic specialist Scarcity was the first to speak. His voice shook slightly as he asked, Ambassador He-jin, Earth has mentioned technologies that could revolutionize galactic civilization. Would you be willing to share some of these advances with the Council? Of course, He-jin replied warmly. Earth believes that knowledge should be shared freely for the benefit of all intelligent life. Planetary engineer Han-Yul stepped forward from the human delegation. She carried several devices that looked deceptively simple, just smooth metal, cylinders and glowing crystal spheres. This is an atmospheric processor, Han-Yul explained, holding up one of the cylinders. It can transform the atmosphere of a dead world into something breathable for most known species. How quickly? Asked terraforming specialist Planeter. From the engineering world of construction. The time depends on the size of the planet, Han-Yul replied. For an Earth-sized world, the process takes about 4 months. 4 months? Planeter's jaw dropped. Our fastest terraforming projects take 200 years. Your current methods require slow introduction of atmospheric gases and gradual temperature adjustment, Han-Yul explained. Our processors work at the molecular level, directly converting existing atmospheric components into the desired mixture. She activated the device. It projected a holographic display showing a dead, airless world. As they watched, the planet's surface began to change. Clouds formed in the atmosphere. Oceans appeared. Green vegetation spread across the continents. The processor also introduces basic plant life to begin a stable ecosystem, Hanul continued. Within 6 months after completion, the world can support complex life forms. How many dead worlds could Earth terraform per year? Asked Settlement Coordinator Colonize. With our current manufacturing capacity, we could process about 50 worlds annually, Hanul replied. Though we could increase production if there was sufficient need. The implications hit the Council like a shock wave. There were thousands of dead worlds in Council space that could become homes for billions of beings. Overcrowding and resource conflicts could become things of the past. Resource Manager Gitai stepped forward to join the presentation. He carried what looked like a simple black cube. This is a matter converter, he explained. It can transform any material into any other material of equal mass. Any material? Asked Scarcity with desperate hope. Any material, Gitai confirmed. Would you like a demonstration? He placed the black cube on the floor and fed it a handful of ordinary space station trash. Discarded food containers, broken equipment, waste materials. The cube hummed quietly for a moment. When it opened, it contained perfect crystals of rare minerals that were worth more than some planets. The conversion is based on atomic restructuring, Gitai explained. We rearrange the atomic structure of common materials to create whatever elements are needed. Could you convert asteroid debris into starship hulls? Asked shipbuilder Metalwork. Certainly, Gitai replied. Though you might prefer our automated construction systems. They can build complete starships directly from raw materials. How long does it take to build a starship? Metalwork asked weakly. Depends on the size and complexity, Gitai said. A basic transport vessel takes about 6 hours. A fully equipped research ship takes about 2 days. Trade specialist Wu Jin joined the economic demonstration. She activated a holographic display that showed production statistics from Earth. These conversion and construction technologies have eliminated scarcity-based economics on Earth, she explained. When any material can be created from any other material, traditional concepts of rare and common resources become meaningless. But how do you maintain social order without scarcity? Demanded Scarcity. Competition for limited resources is what drives technological progress and social development. We have found that cooperation drives progress much more effectively than competition, Wu Jin replied. When people work together toward shared goals, they achieve far more than when they compete against each other. But without competition, people become lazy, protested hierarchy maintainer Rank Order from the stratified world of levels. Our experience suggests the opposite, Wu Jin said gently. When people are not worried about basic survival, they are free to pursue their true interests. They become artists, scientists, explorers, teachers, whatever brings them joy and fulfillment. And this creates enough workers to maintain your civilization? Rank Order asked skeptically. More than enough, Wu Jin confirmed. When work is fulfilling rather than mandatory, people are incredibly productive. They create beautiful things, solve difficult problems, and help others achieve their dreams. Economic Trade Manager Wu Jin displayed Earth's production statistics. The numbers were staggering. Human civilization produced more goods, services, and innovations per person than any council species, despite having eliminated traditional economic pressures. Furthermore, Wu Jin continued, We would like to offer these technologies to Council worlds as gifts, not trade goods. Gifts. Scarcity could barely speak. You want nothing in return. We want friendship, Hyejin replied. We want to learn about your cultures, your histories, your unique perspectives on existence. We want to share ideas and experiences. These things cannot be bought or sold. They can only be freely given and received. Planetary engineer Hanul reactivated her atmospheric processor display. Each council world that wishes can receive the technology to transform dead planets into garden worlds. Your people will never again need to fight over living space. Each world that wants our matter converters can have them, added Gitai. Your people will never again need to fight over resources. Each civilization that desires our construction technologies can use them, said manufacturing coordinator AudioBuild. Your people can build whatever they need, whenever they need it. The economic implications were beyond calculation. Overnight, the basis of galactic civilization would change from scarcity to abundance. Wars over resources would become pointless. Poverty could be eliminated on every world. But some council members were starting to realize there was a deeper change coming. Ambassador, said Ancient Kulvar from his seat in the visitor section, these technologies will change more than our economies. They will change the fundamental structure of galactic society. How so? Asked Hyejin, though she clearly already understood. Currently, the Council maintains order through control of rare resources and advanced technologies, Kulvar explained. Powerful worlds dominate weaker ones, because they have things that weaker worlds need. Yes, Hyejin said gently. We understand this could be disruptive to existing power structures. If every world has access to unlimited resources and advanced technology, continued Kulvar, then the current system of governance becomes obsolete. Perhaps, Hyejin agreed, but perhaps something better could take its place. What do you suggest? Asked Council Leader Mothara. Integration Specialist Yujin stepped forward from the human delegation. She was young, but her ideas about social organization were revolutionary, even by human standards. Earth suggests a system based on voluntary cooperation rather than hierarchical control, Yujin explained. Each world maintains its independence and cultural identity, but all worlds work together on projects that benefit everyone. How could this possibly work? Demanded hierarchy maintainer Rank Order. Without central authority, there would be chaos. Not if all participants have abundance instead of scarcity, Yujin replied. When everyone has everything they need, there is no reason for conflict. When everyone benefits from cooperation, there is strong motivation to work together. But someone must be in charge, Rank Order insisted. Someone must make the final decisions. Why? Yujin asked simply. On Earth, we have learned that the best decisions come from combining the wisdom of many minds, not from the authority of a single leader. And when minds disagree, pressed Rank Order, then we keep talking until we find a solution that everyone can accept, Yujin replied. It takes longer than authoritarian decision-making, but the results are much better. Peace negotiator Seok-jin joined the discussion. Earth has observed that most conflicts in the galaxy arise from competition for limited resources or from fear of other species. Our technologies can eliminate resource competition. Our friendship can eliminate fear. You make it sound simple, said Mothara. The concept is simple, Seok-jin agreed. The implementation requires patience, understanding, and goodwill from all participants. And if some species refuse to participate? Asked Grixtalk. Then they remain free to continue as they always have, Yejin replied. Earth will not force cooperation on anyone, but we believe that when other species see the benefits of abundance and cooperation, most will choose to join us. As the implications of the human offer sank in, the council chamber filled with excited whispers in dozens of languages. The aliens were beginning to understand that they stood at the threshold of a new age, an age where poverty, war, and scarcity could become ancient history. But they were also beginning to understand that the great council chamber had never been so quiet. For 3 hours, representatives from 47 worlds had listened to humanity's presentation. Now they sat in stunned silence, trying to comprehend the magnitude of what they had witnessed. Council. Leader Moth Ara floated in the center of the chamber, her misty form swirling with uncertainty. In 800 years of leading the council, she had never faced a decision of such enormous importance. We must adjourn to consider these proposals, she announced finally. The council will reconvene in 6 hours to vote on humanity's offer. As the alien representatives filed out of the chamber, they moved like beings in a dream. Everything they thought they knew about technology, society, and the future had been turned upside down. Ambassador Haye Jin watched them go with understanding eyes. They need time to process everything, she said to her delegation. This is a lot of change to absorb all at once. Will they accept our offer? Asked technology advisor Yejin. Some will, Heejin replied thoughtfully. Others may be frightened by how much their worlds would change. And if they refuse? Asked Security Chief Sung Jun. Then we respect their choice and remain friends with those who want friendship, Heejin said firmly. Earth will not impose change on anyone. While the council debated, the human delegation waited in their quarters. They spent the time reviewing reports from Earth and discussing the cultural exchanges they hoped to establish with their new galactic neighbors. Communications specialist Daeho monitored transmissions from around the galaxy. The news of our arrival is spreading quickly, he reported. Every council world is talking about Earth's technologies. What are they saying? Asked cultural attaché Sujin. Mixed reactions, Daeho replied. Some worlds are excited about the possibilities. Others are worried about losing their traditional ways of life. Military governments seem especially concerned about changes to the power balance. That is understandable, said historian Junho. When Earth went through similar changes, many people were frightened at first. Change is always difficult, even when it leads to better things. In the council chamber, heated debates raged in dozens of languages. The issues were complex, and the stakes were enormous. If we accept Earth's technologies, argued Representative, stagnate from the conservative world of tradition, our entire civilization will be transformed overnight. Our children will grow up in a universe we cannot understand. But if we refuse, countered Representative Progress from the research world of innovation, we will be left behind while other worlds advance beyond our comprehension. Perhaps, suggested Ancient Kulvar, we should ask ourselves what we truly want for our people. Do we want them to struggle with scarcity and conflict, or do we want them to have abundance and peace? Easy words from someone whose world never faces resource shortages, snapped General Kraktesh. The hegemony has built its strength through military discipline and controlled resources. Without scarcity, our entire society loses its foundation. Then perhaps, said Professor Lil Wen gently, It is time to build a new foundation based on cooperation instead of domination. And what about those who choose not to cooperate? Demanded Grixtalk. In a galaxy of abundance, how do we deal with species that remain aggressive? Economic specialist Scarcity raised a more practical concern. If every world has matter converters and terraforming technology, what happens to our trade networks? Entire civilizations depend on interstellar commerce. Trade will continue, predicted Tomek, who had been studying the human economic data. But instead of trading raw materials and basic goods, worlds will trade art, culture, knowledge, and unique experiences. Commerce will become more interesting, not less. The debates continued for hours. Representatives argued about technology, politics, economics, and philosophy, but gradually a consensus began to emerge. The question, said Mothara finally, is not whether these changes will come. The humans have made it clear that they will share their technology with any world that requests it. The question is whether the Council will help guide this transformation or be swept aside by it. You suggest we should lead the change instead of resisting it? Asked Stagnate. I suggest we should embrace the opportunity to create something better than what we have now, Mothara replied. When the Council reconvened, the chamber was filled with tension. Representatives knew they were about to make the most important decision in galactic history. Mothara called for order and addressed the human delegation. Ambassador He-Jin, the Council has considered your offer carefully. We have many questions about how this new system would work, but we have reached a preliminary decision. We are listening, He-Jin replied calmly. By a vote of 38 worlds in favor, 6 worlds abstaining, and 3 worlds opposed, the Council accepts Earth's offer to share advanced technologies with member civilizations. The chamber erupted in cheers from some representatives and worried murmurs from others. However, Mothara continued, we also vote to restructure the Council itself. The old system of hierarchical control is incompatible with the abundance and cooperation that Earth's technologies will bring. What do you propose? Asked He-Jin. We propose to dissolve the Galactic Council as it currently exists and create a new organization, the Galactic Cooperation Alliance. Membership will be voluntary. Decisions will be made by consensus rather than authority. The goal will be mutual, benefit rather than control. He-Jin smiled warmly. Earth would be honored to participate in such an alliance. Furthermore, Mothara continued, we invite Earth to establish permanent embassies on every Council world that desires one. We want our people to learn directly from human teachers and advisors. We accept gladly, He-Jin replied, but we also hope that your people will come to Earth as teachers. We have much to learn from your diverse cultures and perspectives. The formal vote was recorded, but the real celebration began immediately afterward. Representatives who had been suspicious and fearful just hours before now approached the human delegation with eager questions and friendship offers. Ambassador, said Neltara from the artistic world of Melodia, would Earth be willing to establish cultural exchange programs? Our artists would love to learn human techniques for creating visual music. Absolutely, replied cultural attaché Sujin. And our artists would be thrilled to learn your traditional methods. We believe that combining different artistic traditions will create entirely new forms of beauty. Professor Lilwen approached technology advisor Ye-Jin with scientific questions. Could Earth help us understand the mathematics behind your space-folding technology? Our physicists are very curious about dimensional engineering. We would be happy to share our knowledge, Ye-Jin replied, but I think you will find that your own scientists are capable of amazing discoveries once they have the basic principles. General. Kraktesh surprised everyone by approaching Security Chief Sung Jun. Perhaps the hegemony could learn new approaches to protecting our people. Your defensive technologies suggest there are better ways to ensure security than building bigger weapons. Protection through strength is an old idea, Sung Jun replied respectfully. But we have found that protection through friendship is much more effective. Strong defenses protect your people from enemies. Strong friendships mean you have no enemies to protect against. As the celebration continued, integration specialist Yu Jin worked with council administrators to plan the transition to the new alliance. The details were complex, but the principles were simple: voluntary cooperation, shared benefits, and respect for every species' unique culture. How long will this transformation take? Asked Planning Coordinator Organize. The technological changes can happen quickly, Yu Jin replied. Our construction systems can build terraforming equipment and matter converters very rapidly. But social changes take time. Some worlds will adapt quickly, others will prefer to change gradually. And Earth will support both approaches? Asked Organize. Of course, Yu Jin confirmed. Every civilization must find its own path to abundance and cooperation. Earth can provide tools and advice, but each world must make its own choices. 3 days later, the human delegation prepared to return to Earth with representatives from every council world. The massive fleet that departed Central Station was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Earth's 12 ships were joined by hundreds of alien vessels. Some came to establish the new embassies on Earth. Others carried scientists eager to study human technology. Still others brought artists, philosophers, and teachers ready to share their cultures with humanity. Communications. Specialist Dai Ho monitored the fleet's communications as they prepared for departure. The conversations he heard filled him with hope. Ship Harmony. This is Crystal Song requesting permission to share our musical databases with your cultural team. Crystal Song, permission granted. We are uploading our visual art archives to your systems now. All vessels. This is Construction Prime. We have preliminary designs for the first Joint Earth Council Research Station. Please review and provide suggestions. Research Station approved. Suggest adding expanded cultural exchange facilities. Melody 7 to Science Fleet. Our poets have composed a song about this historic journey. Would you like to hear it? Science Fleet to all ships. Definitely yes. Let's all hear the